Facebook Live Friday, Just Stamp with Anna Marie, and we are going to be making two projects today. I am featuring one of my favorite stamp sets in the catalog. It's a really special stamp set. It's called Nothing's Better Than, and you have four things that are like daily treats. You have nothing's better than coffee, nothing's better than chocolate, nothing's better than cookies, and nothing's better than cocktails. So this stamp set is another stamp set designed for one of the $1 million sales demonstrators. I think this is Connie Stewart stamp set. It is a really fun set with a retro feel. It's got the little coffee cups you would have expected to find in the coffee shops back in the day. And it's got a lot of really fun elements. I've seen a lot of cool projects posted all over the internet. Different color schemes, different styles. I hope you like those two styles I'm going to be sharing with you today. We're going to be making two projects, as I said. We are going to be making a project for today's plan, Consume Coffee, really cute card. And the second card, same feel, same style. Today's plan, Consume Cocktails, because adulting is hard. Okay, so I am going to turn the camera. I'm going to share with you the materials that I'm using on these two projects with the retro feel. I chose a color scheme and some of the design elements to help along with that vibe. So, by the way, I appreciate your comments. I know I don't always address it live on the video, but I try to go back and answer and respond when I can. So please, I appreciate your comments. I appreciate you sharing the video. Those of you who are watching later or watching the replay, thank you, welcome in. I know a lot of people can't make it the middle of the day, but I still appreciate you popping in. So with that, I'm gonna go ahead and turn the camera down, get started with the project. I think we are ready to go. So, first thing, let me show you the stamp set that we are working with. Of course, it is Nothing's Better Than. It is a photopolymer stamp set of 26 stamps. So you get a lot in the stamp set. You can see that there's two kinds of fonts. The scripty font for coffee, cookies, cocktails, and chocolate. And you also have the sans serif fonts for today's plan. All the little greetings that go along with the things that there's nothing better than. And then we've got the cute art images. We've got the cookie, the cocktail, the coffee cup, and the candy, and those are two-step stamps. So this is a really easy set to create with. The cool thing about it is accompanied by the dies. So the dies will cut out the larger words and the shapes of all the art elements. Works really nicely together, and if you're wanting to look up this stamp set, it is on page 91 of the catalog. You can have a look at some of the examples that Stampin' Up! Has provided. Along with this stamp set, I am going to be using the texturizing folder called Dainty Diamonds. It is a 3D embossing folder. It's the smaller size, and it has these delicate sparkly images on the folder. It's on page 184 in case you're interested in having a closer look at that. So this is for the Stampin' Cut and Emboss, the Dainty Diamonds folder. And so these are the elements we're going to be working with on our first card. And there's our card. Today's plan, Consume Coffee. I'll introduce the colors to you in just a second. This has kind of like a little funky frame, old vintage style sign or billboard, and I've just gone ahead and sort of free-handed it. There's no specific measurements. I'll get you the measurements to start off with, but every card is going to come out different. Even mine today is going to come out a little bit different than the first one I created. So let's see, let's get started. I am starting with a Whisper White card base. And this was just cut on the landscape orientation. So I took the 8.5 by 11 inch heavyweight cardstock and I scored it at 4 1/4. So it measures 5.5 by 8.5. And so this is going to create that landscape orientation card. And I did pre-score it. So I've got the valley indentation here. I'm going to go ahead and fold over and burnish down. There we go. The next element I'm going to use is a 5 1/4 by 4 inch Whisper White regular weight cardstock, and I went ahead and I pre-embossed this with the Dainty Diamonds folder that I just showed you. So I used my cutting and embossing machine to take care of that beforehand, so you don't have to listen to my machine clunking around. The next thing I've got is a small piece, and I think it measures about 4 inches by 3.5. This is the copper foil paper, so cool. And I picked it because I think it has like that retro vibe going on with it. I do need another Whisper White piece that's going to be layered onto that copper foil. I need a scrap of Whisper White. We are going to be stamping and cutting the coffee cups. And then I've got a small piece of early espresso. That's what we're going to die cut the coffee word from. So there we go. So let's see if I can put that there so we can kind of use that as our guide. So let's see, we are going to start off by creating the kind of wonky shaped white paper for the banner or for the frame. And I did this, again, I freehanded it, so everyone's is going to come out a little bit different. I am using my stamping trimmer, and the first thing, this measures about 4 inches by 2.5. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to kind of shape this, and it's going to fit over top of the copper paper. So while both are the same size right now, we're going to trim this down, and it's going to start off at that 4 inch by 2.5 inch size. We're going to trim that down, and the way I'm doing it, I'm just going to put it on the trimmer, and I'm going to twist or angle the paper so that I get a different shape on it. And let's see, we're going to bring that in, trim down. I'm also going to trim off at the bottom, and again, I'm trying to make this not a rectangle, but kind of angled on all corners or all sides. So let's see if I can get this going. And again, no two are going to come out the same. Each one's going to be different. And I'm going to flip it because I want these sides that are across from each other kind of tapering towards each other. So, and let's see, I think I'm almost there. That's a little bit wider. Let's see if I put it that way. I think I'm liking that better. Now, I am going to be creating the frame for it. See, I want to trim that down just a little bit more because I want more of the copper foil to show through. So if I trim that just a bit, there we go. And that's now going to fit on that copper frame that's going to be matted on. And the way I'm going to do that, I'm just going to kind of use this as my guide to trim out. And we can go ahead and do that now. I'm just going to hold it in place, put it on my trimmer, and give myself a small border all the way around. And I do want to make sure that I'm up on the corner of the papers. And if you want to freehand this, that will work as well. You could also put it on the Stampin' trimmer and trim it out. So I think I've kind of got the shape, and what I'm going to do is actually flip it, and now I've got it a little bit different frame going on. And I can see how this kind of angles awkwardly, so I'm going to put it in there and go from corner to corner. And this is exactly what you would do to create your frame. As again, no two are going to come out exactly the same. Let's put that aside for now. And there we go. So now I'm ready to stamp my sentiment. Today's plan, consume. And because this is a photopolymer stamp set, I am going to put my piercing mat underneath. I am going to be stamping in early espresso. And I need my sentiment. Let's see, I think I pre-mounted these. There we go. Just going to stamp right that sort of at the center top of the white. And straighten that out. And hopefully you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to bring this in and stamp down. Sometimes it's hard to see when you're not right over it. All right, so today's plan, consume. The next thing I'm going to do is add one of the coffee cups directly onto this Whisper White paper. And I'm using the coffee cup with the sweet little sparkly stars on it. Again, this is a two-step stamp set, so it has an outline and then it has a stamp to color in the image. And I'm going to be stamping down with my soft suede. And let's see, again, just tap, tap, tap. And this is towards the upper right. And I'm also going to be stamping 2 extra cups that are going to be cut and added with a dimensional. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp those now. All set. Let's 2 of the cups are in the mint macaron. And again, there is a stamp that colors it in, so you don't have to use any coloring tool other than your ink pad. I'm going to stamp down. Now this one's a little bit harder to get right in there. You want to get it right over top in that outline. Looks like it's a little bit off, but I'm going to be able to go back in and correct that. So we'll fix that in just a second. And again, a second mint macaron coffee cup. Oops, there we go. And then I'm going to need to clean this because I'm also going to do a coffee cup in Blushing Bride. So these colors that I picked, they're kind of like that retro soft tone. I don't know, was this like the 40s, 1940s? Retro could also be like the 60s or the 70s. So this is going back a little bit further. All right, there we go. So here's my Blushing Bride. I'm gonna be stamping 1 more cup. This one's going to be die cut. There we go. So now I have my 3 coffee cups. I am gonna need to die cut 2 of those. And I'm also going to need to die cut the coffee. So let me see, I'm going to take this off camera, die cut these, and be right back with that. I'm going to use the die. So on the dies, we do have a die for each of the words, the main words, and then the coffee cup, the cookie, the chocolates, and the cocktail. I'm going to go ahead and take that coffee cup, and let's see. Let me bring this in. And whoops, looks like I stepped on my ink pad. It's funny, no matter how much of a work surface you have, it is never big enough. Why is that? And if it is big enough, then it means I'm going to be losing everything. So I am going to go ahead and put down my stamped images. I'm going to cut 2 cups, and I've got the magnetic platform on here, which means it has a mind of its own. And most of the time I just give into it and let it go wherever it needs to and adjust my paper. Sometimes I also put a small piece of washi tape to keep it under control. This stamp set is too cute with the coffee, the chocolate, the cocktails, and the cookies. What could be better than all of that throughout the day? Start off the day with a nice stiff cup of coffee. Chocolate and cookies throughout, and cocktail at 5, right? All right, so now I've got my 2 coffee cups. I'm gonna go ahead and put my die away so I have it when I need it next. All right, let me bring back in my card. There. I've got my focal point. I have my 2 coffee cups. And then last, I'm going to need my coffee. And let's see, where did I cut that? There we go. And there's my coffee die cut from one of the dies in this set. So I'm going to start off, I'm ready at this point to start layering. I'm going to bring in my Whisper White card base and my 4" by 5 1/4 embossed Whisper White. It's going to be flat adhered to the card base. And I'm using the Seal Plus, Stampin' Seal Plus, and I do think I like the Plus better than the regular Stampin' Seal. Haven't had any issues with this one. With the Stampin' Seal, we've already had our moments. All right, this is going to create about an 1/8" border all the way around. There we go. And then next, the copper mat is secured flat right onto the textured paper. And again, that's with flat adhesive. And you know, I'm not really liking, I feel like it needs to be a slightly more exaggerated angle, so I'm going to try trimming this up just a little bit. Let me give that a little bit more of an angle. Bring in my trimmer again and snip just a tiny bit off. And you can see why there is no measuring needed. You're just going to use the shape and form that you like. So what I'm going to do, this has too much of an equal border all the way around. I'm going to flip it, and I like it better this way when it's not quite standard. The copper foil is going to be matted straight onto the textured paper, and again with flat adhesive. And it's got like 3/4 of an inch border at the top. All right. And then next I'm going to put together my focal point. I'm going to add my coffee cups, add my coffee sentiment, and a couple of finishing touches. So let's see, next I'm going to go ahead and put down my flat coffee cup. So flat adhesive, I'm just using a couple of dots of liquid glue to hold that in position. And let's see, I'm going to angle that. And I know the coffee is going to come someplace around there. I want the saucer of the coffee to be tucked right underneath the word coffee. So there we go. And then next I'm going to adhere the coffee, and I'm using flat adhesive, and I'm just going to add a couple little dots all the way around on the lettering. Not too much, otherwise it's going to get sticky and messy. You could use the new seal, or you could use the new foam adhesive, but since I'm popping up the entire sign, I didn't want too much thickness going on. Then it makes it too bulky, and then the postage man wants to or the poster carrier wants to charge you more than a standard mailing. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and flip that over. I'm going to add it right below today's plan. Consume coffee. And the little blushing bride coffee is going to be popped up with a dimensional. And it goes right below, let's see, right in there. So no worries that my second step on my cup didn't quite get all of the saucer. I can now go back and go ahead and touch up the saucers, or that little white area. I'm just going to use my blend and come in and create a little bit more fill in here all the way through. There we go. So no stress over not having it perfectly placed. It still works. Now in the stamp set there is this tiny, tiny stamp. This little twinkling star. Let's see if I can add that to my cup, or right above the cup. And I'm going to do this in soft suede. So this tiny little star, I think it's adorable. I'm going to add that right above the cup, and I'm going to do it in threes because 3 is the magic number when you're adding embellishments and finishing touches. There we go. Really sweet. This now is going to be dimensionaled onto the card base. So I'm just going to use 4 standard size dimensionals. And you know, I don't get enough occasions to use the copper foil paper. I love it. I think it looks really retro, so I think it fits this stamp set nicely. Now I'm going to go ahead and add that right in place and have it pushed down. Yikes. I wanted to move it over just a tiny bit to the left, but that dimensional wants to grab into position. Let's see. There we go. And let's see. I'm not at the right angle to see that I have it as I want it. There we go. So my last step is that little sparkle. I'm going to be using my go-to embellishment, just the basic rhinestones. And to place those, I just use my paper snips and I go in and I dig right underneath the rhinestone. And again, in threes, that's my favorite number with embellishments, always an odd number. And there you go. Today's plan, consume coffee. Nice little card. I use the Whisper White as opposed to putting on a colored background. Of course, when you have the Whisper White, it's easy to write your note right inside. Nice and sparkly, retro feel with the soft colors and the copper foil on it. I love the font of the coffee, the cocktails, the chocolate sentiments. Really sweet. So there's our first project for today. The second project is going to feature the cocktails. Today's plan, consume cocktails because adulting is hard. So it features some of the same elements as the first card. I'm still going to be using my Dainty Diamonds embossing folder. I'm still using the copper foil sheets, the same stamps and the dies. And this time I'm using the cocktail, of course, and I'm also bringing in some images from another stamp set. This is a really summery stamp set. It's got a great feel for relaxing, tropical scents, fresh and breezy. It's the Timeless Tropical. I'm picking just the 2 palm trees, and because this set also has coordinating dies, I'm going to be die cutting those trees with the coordinating dies in the tropics. So this one is a red rubber stamp set, and if you're interested, it's on page 36 of the catalog, so you can have a closer look at all of the elements in it. This is another one of those stamp sets that's nice because it has both the images and it's got the sentiments on it, so it always makes it really convenient. We are using the same, basically the same color scheme. We're going to bring in a couple of different colors, but overall same color scheme. And I'm going to have a different technique for you as well. So let's see, let's take that over. Again, we are starting on a Whisper White card base. Same orientation, so it was cut the 8.5 by 11. It was cut in half and scored at 4 1/4. Thank you. Sandy says so cute. I'm pretty happy with the card. It's not too complicated, kind of soft coloring, and the retro vibe it has going on with it. There we go. So I'm also going to be using another 4" by 5 1/4 textured Whisper White, and again I ran this straight through the embossing machine with that Dainty Diamonds embossing folder. That folder is going to be another one of my go-to because it has just the right amount of texture, so delicate and so sweet. It's on page 184, back where the other tools are in the catalog. Let's have a look here. All right, so again, I'm going to be needing a scrap of early espresso. I need a larger white scrap. I'm going to be stamping my two elements, the trees and the cocktail. Let's see, somehow some of my things got out of reach. Let's have a look here. So I also need the copper foil, and this is a slightly smaller size. This one just measures 2 inches by about 3 1/4. I need the smaller Whisper White that's going to be matted right onto that copper foil, and I need a small scrap of the mint macaron. So there we go. Let's keep going. And I'm going to go ahead and eliminate some of these pieces. I'm going to go ahead and mount my Dainty Diamonds texture onto my Whisper White. Getting some of the things out of the way. Using my Stampin' Seal Plus again, so easy. I could get used to this. Oops, that one kind of tore a little bit. Let's see. There we go. And again, this is going to create about an 1/8 inch border all the way around. There we go. All right. Hey, Barb, thank you. I appreciate your comments. All right, so let's get started. We are going to do some cropping again, so let's go ahead and move my card base out of the way. And I'm going to do the same kind of cropping on my Whisper White, and then I'm going to come back in with my copper and tailor this to the white. So I've already got a slightly larger piece of copper that gives me an idea of how much I'm going to be trimming off of the white, and I'm just putting them on the paper trimmer at an angle, so one end is flush up to the cutting blade, and then the opposite side I chop up a tiny bit more of it. And again, with the bottom portion, I'm just going to trim down more on one side, so one side is flush to the cutting blade, the other side has about 1/4 of an inch off, and this one I want to go, let's see, taper it in at the top. Again, there we go. So now I've got that little funky shape. I'm going to be coordinating the copper mat to it, so I'm going to go ahead and trim some of that off. And again, I'm just going to layer that on top so I can get a guide of how much I want to chop off on the copper. same on all sides. There we go. So I have almost the same shape as the white. So my trick is then to flip it so it's going opposite directions. Now I've got a little bit more wonkiness going on. So there's my focal point. I'm going to go ahead and stamp, starting with the Today's Plan. Again, it's photopolymer, so I'm going to put that piercing mat down. Nothing stinks more than stamping down onto your paper and the image not coming out completely. So the piercing mat seems to do the trick for me most of the time. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and add this about 1/4 of an inch from the top, about 1/4 inch over. There we go. Today's plan. It is going to be to consume cocktails. I also need to stamp because adulting is hard. And let's see if I can find that stamp here. There's my cocktail layer. Got my cocktail, my umbrella, some of my other coloring tools, and here's my Because Adulting is Hard. So this layer of mint macron measures about 2 inches by 1.5. It's a little bit bigger than we're going to need, and I'm going to stamp down at the bottom of it, and I'm going to trim a tiny bit off of this side as well. This is going to peek out from under the copper sign. There we go. And let's see, pop that over, and let's go ahead and stamp our cocktail, still with the soft suede. And on this one, I found it a little bit easier to do the color first and then do the outline. So the color is just the shape of the little cocktail glass, and I chose Mango Melody. It seemed like a good cocktail color. I'm going to go ahead and ink that up. So there's my color for my cocktail. Next, I'm going to do the outline. Let's see if sorry about reaching across there. Things get crowded on the work surface. Okay, now I want my outline, and I'm again going to be doing this in soft suede. The whole vibe to this little card collection has a soft, muted vibe to it. So the soft suede seemed to do the trick. I chose Early Espresso for the greetings just to make it pop a little bit more. So now I'm kind of trying to gauge right over. There we go. There's my cocktail. And let's see, I am going to also do the second step on that little wedge of fruit. I would think it's, maybe an orange slice. So I'm using the Mango Melody again. Let's see if I can get that right in there. And for that umbrella, I want it two tones, so I'm going to bring in my blends, and I'm going to choose the dark Just Jade and the, let's see, I'll go for the light mint macron, so there's enough of a difference. And I'm just going to add a little bit of color on this umbrella, starting at the sides here. And I'm using the pen tip of the blend. Filling that in. There we go. So that's going to be ready to cut. Oh, you know, I'm also going to color in the stem of the glass, and I'm going to use the light mint macron for that. So just a little tiny bit of color. There we go. Now I'm going to remove my piercing mat. because I'm going to also stamp my 2 palm trees, and the palm trees are red rubber. This one comes from the Timeless Tropical set. It's a cling stamp set, not a photopolymer. And because I want 2 colors, I want the soft suede, and then I want for the trunks, then I want the fronds in kind of like a 2-tone of green. So here's where I bring back some tools that don't get as much use these days. It seems like once the blends arrived, all the coloring was about the Stampin' Blends, and the Stampin' Write markers had to take a back seat. But we still need those Stampin' Write markers. In this case, I'm going to be coloring direct to the red rubber, and I would not want to do that with my blends. The blends are alcohol based and they will dry out quickly before you can even stamp your image down. So I'm going to take my soft suede Stampin' Write marker. I'm going to use the brush tip, and I know it's the brush tip. It's got that wider line on it. And I am going to ink up direct to rubber. Just color in the trunks of the 2 palm trees. There we go. And the fronds, I started off by coloring with the mint macron, and I colored all over. So I just kind of tip it to about a 45-degree angle, color up the red rubber, and I get ink all over. And this is the best way to get multiple colors on one stamp. Use your Stampin' Write markers and color direct to the red rubber. So now I've got mint macron all the way around. I am next going to take my pear pizzazz and add a little bit of dimension to those fronds. So I'm starting kind of like around the edges. I want some different green, giving a little bit of texture. Maybe in closer towards the center where we would get a little bit of shadowing going on. A little bit of darkness in there. And then I'm kind of just thumping it all the way around to add just a little bit more blending going on here. All right, and the next step, you remember this part, give it a huff. Hey Robin, thank you for joining, and thanks for your kind comment. I'm really liking this retro feel set. Of course, I love the coffee, cocktails, chocolates, and cookies. I mean, who doesn't? It's a really cute set. So now I've got my palm trees there, and you can see how it's not just one solid color. You kind of get a feel for the different colors growing on those fronds. My next step is going to be to bring in the Big Shot and go ahead and die cut these. Let me get some of these things out of the way so I don't get inky all over. I will still need my soft suede, and I'm going to need my die cut there. So just trying to make way on my stamping area. Bring back the Big Shot, and I'm just going to make 2. Whoa! Heard that. That was the platform that I need, and I need my cutting plate on the bottom. Good thing I have those durable floors. I love these vinyl floors. Okay, let's go. I need the cocktail die cut, and I need the palm trees. So the palm trees comes from In the Tropics dies, and what do you know? There it is, right where it belongs. Imagine that. And the second thing I need is that cute little cocktail, which comes from the Love You More Than dies. I'm telling you, you wanted to have a look at this bundle. It is too sweet, and so lucky for the demo who got this design. It really suits her design. The demo's name is Connie Stewart, and if you skip over to her blog, you can see it. The design just suits her to a T. Let's see if I can do one pass. So I'm going to do my cocktail and the tree in one pass. I love it when I only have to crank it out once.
There we go. So now I'm going to pop those dies right out. One piece didn't quite cut all the way through. Got to pull it. There we go. Pull up between the two trunks. And there's my trees. There's my cocktail. And I already cut the word cocktail out. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm ready to start layering on. This one gets layered on the same way as the coffee card. I'm going to put the copper mat down first, direct to the embossed Whisper White. Make sure that's the orientation I want. And that's going to be flat adhered, so you can do that either with the stamp and seal. You could do it with glue dots. I've got my favorite liquid glue. Here we go. And just press down on that. Try not to put too much glue in there to make it too sticky, so hopefully I put enough. It seems to be popping up. Let me put a little bit more underneath there. There we go. And let's see, I think I'll add some weight to it as I put the rest of it together. I'm going to go ahead and bring in my Whisper White. I'm going to add my word cocktails, and that's with flat adhesive, so I just put a few dots of the liquid glue. And you do not want to go overboard with the liquid glue. It's going to get messy, or it's going to make your card sticky. So there's other options besides the liquid glue for adhering these small elements. You've got your new foam adhesive sheets, and then you also have your, let's see, stamp and stick sheets, and either one of them are good options, as is my favorite. There's also the glue pen, which does not get along with me, so we've had our differences. All right. Mainly it doesn't behave, it doesn't work half the time for me. So I'm going to go ahead and add that to the Whisper White. I'm going to add those little twinkles up at the top. Let's bring back my early espresso. I'm going to add, again, 3 right over the eye. There we go. And I'm going to bring back my copper. There is one thing I need to do right underneath the frame. So I'm going to bring in that, because adulting is hard, I'm going to trim that down just a tiny bit. I just want it pretty much the width of the text. So right through there. And I just need a little bit of a border up at the top so that I have something to adhere underneath. There we go. And this is actually going to be tucked right underneath the copper foil layer. So let me put some adhesive on there so that it sticks down. Another reason I like the liquid adhesive, if you don't get it in the right spot right away, you have a little bit of time to tweak it and put it into position. So let's see, right through here. Right in there, and I'm going to try and move that over a little bit so I have room for my trees. Right about there. Now the next thing I can do is add my palm trees. So the palm trees are popped up on dimensionals.
I'm going to be putting some behind the trees and also on the trunk. So what I'm going to do here, and let me add my focal point first. I'll add that with dimensionals. And I'm just going to put down 4. These are the standard size dimensionals. So I appreciate your comments. I know I can't always get back right as I'm working, but I always try to go back and add, recognize that your comment. I really appreciate it. There we go. We're going to pop that on. And now we're going to put the palm trees on, but I'm going to think strategically. I'm not going to double up on the area where I've already got it popped up. So I'm going to leave my dimensionals to the right and to the trunks right underneath the left part of the palm trees. I'm just going to use a tiny bit of liquid adhesive to secure it down to the focal point. So let me add a couple of dimensionals over the main part of the tree, and then I'm going to put some dimensional onto those trunks. So here's where I like to use the area around the mini dimensionals. There's a fair amount, almost a ½ inch of dimensional on that. That's really helpful when you have narrow areas that you want to pop up. So I'm going to go ahead and cut a long narrow strip right off of these dimensionals. It's going to be perfect for right behind the trunks. And let's see, I need 2 pieces. You just have to be careful that it doesn't stick right to your fingers. This way your trunks are nice and secure. They're not going to fold over when your card goes in the envelope. There we go. And go ahead and remove the backing on these. There we go. And I'm going to put a tiny bit of liquid glue on the far end of the palm tree to secure it down to the front of the card right through here. There we go. Tiny bit sticking out. There we go. And then finally, we have our cocktail, the star of the card, and that is going to be popped up with dimensionals as well. And I'm also going to put the tiniest little piece of dimensional at the base of the glass. Let's see, I'm going to use a mini dimensional on the umbrella. I love that we have the option of sizes for the dimensionals. It's really helpful. Now I just need a tiny little snippet for the glass base. And hopefully I've got the right size here, right in the middle here. Whoops. There we go. And again, the little wedge of fruit needs some liquid glue right there. It's going to be flat adhered to the rest of the card. I'm going to pop that right into position around there. All right, so now we just need to finish it off with a little bit of sparkle. And again, the go-to embellishment, the rhinestones, nice and sparkly. I'm going to put some right up top. Today's plan. I'm going to put one right over that little eye in the cocktail, and one a little bit further down onto the is hard. And there we go. Today's plan: consume cocktails because adulting is hard. So we have our 2 cards from the Nothing's Better Than collection. I still haven't even attacked the Nothing's Better Than Cookies and Nothing's Better Than Chocolate. This is a really sweet bundle you're going to want to check out. It's going to make nice friendship cards Really cool because it has the coordinating dies that you can use instead of fussy cutting, and that really soft and sweet, dainty diamonds embossing folder kind of finishes off the project. All right, so thank you for joining me today for Facebook Friday.